So maybe it's necessary to get this out of the way first. No, I did not do a video for all of the smaller signings and re-signings that the Kansas City Chiefs did in the past couple of weeks, but I put together a show for that, and one by one going down all of those smaller signings, and I just wasn't adding anything to them, I didn't think, so I scrapped the show. But Marlon Tuipulotu played less than 70 snaps last season, so he would be a smaller signing slash re-signing. But I'm going to make a video about this one because I think that there is potential that this becomes a bigger signing slash re-signing than maybe is obvious at the top of things. In an article titled "Report Chiefs Re-Sign Defensive Tackle Marlon Tuipulotu," subtitled "As the Focus Shifts from Free Agency to the Draft, Kansas City Continues to Address Depth from Arrowhead Pride" by Jared Sapp, we get the following. Tuipulotu, a 2021 sixth-round draft selection of the Philadelphia Eagles, signed with the Chiefs in September. He appeared in 2 Kansas City games in 2024, totaling 4 tackles. In his career, he's appeared in 30 games with 3 sacks and a forced fumble to his credit. Tuipulotu was placed on Kansas City's injured reserve list with an undisclosed injury on January 10th. But so, yeah, not a big impact last season. Signed early in the year, put on IR very late in the year, and not a whole lot went on in between. But I think that there is some potential here with Tuipulotu. I went digging and found this from when he was drafted. Eagles add more defensive tackle depth in round 6 from Eagles Insider by Ruben Frank. Tuipulotu did not play much in 2017 while dealing with back and knee issues. So he does have an injury history that maybe is sort of hampering him in his development in the NFL. He became a full-time starter as a redshirt freshman in 2018. This is a sign that he has talent. Recognized early on as a redshirt freshman, he was a starter. When he recorded 4.5 sacks, then blossomed into an NFL prospect in 2019 as a sophomore. This past year, he earned first-team All-Pac-12 honors and earned an invite to the Senior Bowl, where he further enhanced his draft status. The article continues, here's what NFL Network's Lance Zierlein wrote about Tuipulotu. He's a little undersized to be an interior run stuffer, but makes up for it with excellent use of hands and twitchy upper body power to jostle and shed blocks. The sack production looks okay, but he's lacking a go-to move and a counter to get quick wins needed along the interior. He will need to add more mass to play nose in the pros, but does have the strength and toughness to find reps at the position. Tuipulotu will check all the boxes for personal and football character and could become a solid rotational defender even in an even front scheme. So, the guy has talent going all the way back. Recognized coming out of high school, recognized early in his collegiate career, recognized again as he was being drafted. Again, it's easy to say, well, he was a 6th-round pick. Defensive tackles where there's some question marks often fall too late to day 3 of the draft. If you are a great big guy who can move, those guys come off the board very early. So this is what he was. He was not invited to the combine. These are all numbers from his pro day. 6'1" and 7/8". So basically 6'2", 307 pounds with 33-inch arms. Very long arms, or long arms for a defensive tackle is what you want to see. 10 and 3/8" hands. Ran a 5.38 40-yard dash. That is not what you would hope for a 307-pound defensive tackle. I will say he does not look like a guy that runs a mid-5-second 40-yard dash. 30.5-inch vertical leap, 8'7" broad jump. Those are both kind of decent numbers for a defensive tackle. And 29 reps on the bench press with 225 pounds. That is a good bench press number. So he is strong, but he's not the biggest. He has long arms, but he's not the fastest. So he has some of these tools, but not all of them. And he has mismatched tools. Normally, the very strong guys are the very big guys. He's a little undersized but very strong. Normally, the very small guys, or the sort of undersized guys, I guess I should say, are the fast guys. He is not a fast guy. Here's what we have in his NFL career thus far from a snaps perspective. In his rookie season, he played 55 snaps. Now remember, he redshirted in college as well. Redshirted in college, took off his freshman year, his redshirt freshman year. Basically redshirted in the NFL and played 232 snaps the next season. Not a whole lot, but that's being on the field 1 start, 9 appearances. And then in his third season, cut that down substantially, about 30% there. 14 appearances, 0 starts. So it looks like he found his way into a rotation in that third year, not getting any starts, but appearing in a whole lot more games. Then Kansas City, where he played just 61 snaps last season. Remember, redshirt as a freshman in college. Second season, he makes his impact. Redshirt, basically his rookie season in the NFL, jumps up 5 times as many reps the next season. Redshirts his first season in Kansas City. What are we doing now? What will we do in 2025, I guess would be the proper way to say that. So looking at his statistical output, not particularly impressive. 5 tackles as a rookie, 16 tackles in his second season with a sack, 22 tackles in his third season with 2 sacks, and then just 4 tackles last season for the Kansas City Chiefs, and not a whole lot of tackles for loss either. It is possible to be a rotational defensive tackle in the NFL and not have heavy statistical production. Kind of, that's what you had with Derek Nottie. Derek Nottie is a player that I don't think ever really got better in the NFL. He was what he was. Was he a bit of a reach where he was drafted? Yeah, you want to get a guy like that in the 5th or 6th round. But that's what we have in Marlon Tuipulotu, a guy who was drafted in the 6th round, came to Kansas City after spending 3 seasons with the Eagles, and kind of is that type of rotational defensive tackle. So why do I make a bit of a bigger deal about this than with the other smaller signings that the Chiefs have made? Well, a lot of times when you see a defensive tackle who does well in college, but not all that well early in his NFL career, it's because there's an adjustment period between college offensive linemen and NFL offensive linemen. NFL offensive linemen, very efficient, even the guys who aren't physically overwhelming. Even if you're not Trent Williams, even if you're not Willie Roaf, you have to have something working for you to be on the football field. That is probably part of what the mismatched physical characteristics with Tuipulotu have worked against him. He was used to, in college, being able to use his strength, even if he didn't have the size. In the NFL, you kind of got to have that size, which makes me wonder if last year, and his lack of production with the Kansas City Chiefs was a byproduct of the Chiefs wanting to put more weight on Tuipulotu? Or were they trying to get him faster, more athletic, maybe shed a couple pounds? Either way, seeing him get more in sync with one side or the other of his physicality might help him improve his game. Now, what we talked about with redshirting his freshman year in college, producing his second year, redshirting his rookie season in the NFL, producing his second year, redshirting his first year with the Kansas City Chiefs and hoping he goes in to produce in his second season, it might be that he is a guy that has difficulty picking up new schemes. And I don't mean that as intellectually he can't pick them up. Look, Maybe, right? We don't know. I don't think that's an insult, even if it's true. These are things that are, a lot of guys never get them, but the guys who never get them are extremely toolsy players. Famous examples from the NFL, Lawrence Taylor. What was it? Lawrence Taylor, there was something extremely obvious he didn't know. He questioned somebody in a huddle one time, right? But Lawrence Taylor, extremely toolsy, very aggressive, was able to get to the quarterback. Didn't matter if he knew what he was doing on the defense, if he could see the guy who had the ball. Brett Favre, very famous story about Brett Favre. He was in his, I think his first season with Green Bay, so he had been in the league for an entire season. And they were in the quarterback meetings, and the coach was talking to him, and this is an imprecise story, so I'm not quoting. The coach was talking about cover 3. Look, Brett, if it's cover 3, you want to do this. If it's cover 2, you want to do that. And he looked at, was it Ty Detmer was the second string quarterback? And he asked him, hey, what's a cover 3? Didn't know what a cover 3 was. Didn't know what cover 3 coverage was. His second season in the NFL. So, but Brett Favre, cannon of an arm, very slippery on the run. Marlon Tuipulotu is neither of those things, obviously, because he plays defensive tackle. But he doesn't have too many of the absolute tools that you have to play defensive tackle. So it's possible that there is just a readjustment period that he has to go through every time he's switching schemes, every time there are different requirements of defensive tackle. That could be something that plays to the Chiefs' benefit. Even if Marlon Tuipulotu is able to simply fill the shoes of Derek Nottie, that would be a big thing for the Kansas City Chiefs this year because it puts a floor on the defensive tackle rotation. There could be a very low floor for the defensive tackle rotation this season. We don't know. You've got Chris Jones at one spot. Chris Jones can't play 100% of the snaps. And even if he is on the field, you've got to line up someone next to him. I think Jerry Tillery is a serviceable defensive tackle. If, in his second season in Kansas City, Marlon Tuipulotu can blossom in to a decent, serviceable defensive tackle, then all of a sudden, the floor is higher for the Chiefs' defense. I think what we are starting to see shape up is the Kansas City Chiefs are almost definitely going to go best player available in the first round unless there's someone who catches their eye or unless they see the value in trading back. That's a good thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. It might end up being something absolutely seemingly silly for the first season. If they draft an offensive tackle at 30-31, it's going to seem to a large portion of the fan base that that's a strange move because you have two starters. You just invested a whole lot of money in one guy. You've taken offensive tackles in each of the last two drafts with a valuable draft position. It's not going to be silly. If the right player falls to them and they make that selection, they will have an offensive tackle for 5 seasons. If it's a wide receiver, that might seem silly. If Luther Burden is dropping to Kansas City or Philadelphia in a number of mock drafts recently, if it's Luther Burden, well, you've got Hollywood Brown, you've got Xavier Worthy, you've got Rashee Rice. You're going to draft a 4th wide receiver in the first round, a wide receiver 4 at 31 overall, maybe. Luther Burden can do some things that none of those other guys can do. He's capable with the ball like Rashee Rice, but he's a little bit faster. He can do a lot of the wiggle stuff that Xavier Worthy does, but he's a lot bigger. So you've got those options on the table. So best player available in the first round, and I think we're seeing it shape up to be that the Kansas City Chiefs might prioritize defensive line with those other selections. Haven't made a signing at edge haven't made a signing, an impact signing at defensive tackle. Perhaps the best case scenario is that one of these great-ish, because it's hard to imagine a great falling to 31, but a great-ish defensive tackle or edge player ends up being there at 31 or is easily attainable by trading up. Well, do you really want to waste all your ammo trading up? Here's the thing. You were going to take best player available in the first round. You had needs at defensive line that you can fill with a second rounder and 2 third rounders. Well, if you burn one of those second or third rounders in order to move up in the first round, yeah, you burn one of your picks, but you fill one of the needs. So I think that might be what we're seeing. And re-signing Marlon Tuipulotu is one of these things that, like we saw the Kansas City Chiefs sign a running back when they probably needed another running back. Sign an offensive tackle when they probably needed another offensive tackle. Brought back Hollywood Brown when they probably needed another receiver. Re-signed Nick Bolton when they were going to need another linebacker. Re-signed Trey Smith when they were going to need another offensive guard. They are systematically filling all of these picks along the way. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance for not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We're over 2 years now of consecutive daily uploads, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.